It's the morning drive with me, Tim Elliott. Good morning to you. The Future Hospitality Summit is the topic of conversation at the moment on the show, on the station, to be fair. It's officially underway, FHS as it's known, at Mira. It's on the 27th to the 29th of October, so ongoing. Over 200 high-level speakers, more than 1,600 delegates, and it is 20 years old, celebrating this year. So, we were there yesterday. The theme of the event is where vision leads, investment follows. Lots to talk about, lots of, statements being made at the event. The first day of the event featured a keynote address on the UAE's blueprint for tourism, innovation, and economic resilience by Abdullah bin Tuq Al Mari. He is the Minister of Economy and Tourism. So, there is plenty to talk about. Inzamam Rashid is with me in the studio. We were there yesterday, partners in crime, at the event, Inzi. Really good day. We talked about that a little bit in the last half an hour or so. And some really interesting people to speak to.
Yeah, very interesting people. People from all walks of life there as well. And we caught up with quite a few people at FHS, from hoteliers to, tourism specialists as well, and also just having conversations on the side with people. I had a really fascinating chat with the new head of the Ras Al Khaimah Tourism and Development Authority, Philippa Harrison, Australian woman. I think she came from the Sydney Tourism Board. And
You were deep in discussion. I
was
came
deep
over
in
at
her.
one
Yeah,
point.
yeah. I was deep in that conversation.
You were.
And it was a great chat. But I think personally, she's probably got one of the most exciting jobs in the UAE right now, because Ras Al Khaimah is just going to be a fascinating place in the years to come. With all the tourism offerings that it's going to have, it's a beautiful location as it is.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in some incredible resorts and kind of tourist opportunities there, and so she's got a pretty exciting role. So we're speaking to her, which was really nice. Hopefully we'll get her in the studio at some point. That'll be really interesting. But one thing that we did talk about, and one thing that we did notice actually, was the sheer number of people that were just at FHS.
Yeah.
And that in its sense, in its own kind of own way, in a sense, kind of reflects what's happening here in the UAE when it comes to the hospitality sector, particularly the hotel sector. And a new report which was released today by Cavendish Maxwell that kind of do these reports. They're basically an agency that looks at the whole landscape of real estate and hospitality and tourism, and looks at people coming in and going out and all that kind of stuff. And they what they've done is they've done a bit of research, a report which looks at hotel inventory, saying that there's expected to be around 152, currently 152,000 rooms across 818 hotels in 2025, and that's expected to grow over the next year. They're expecting a rise as a result of some research and analysis that they've done.
Okay, I'm with you. Now, these are the people that know about acronyms like ADR, average daily rates, and occupancy, and these kinds of things. They're like a real estate advisory, aren't they? They're like a property consultant outfit, Cavendish Maxwell.
Yeah. So what they've said is that Dubai's hotel inventory grew to almost 152,300 rooms across 818 hotels in the first 8 months of 2025.
Right.
So, and what they've said is that occupancy and average daily rates has also increased compared to the same period last year. And this is a report that the team there at Cavendish Maxwell have put together. And what they also envisage as well is that the number of rooms, hotel rooms, is going to increase substantially in 2026 as well. They think there'll be an extra 5,000 rooms available in 2026 because of a whole new number of hotels that are coming to the UAE. So it's really interesting because they're seeing a huge influx of big international brands still coming here in the UAE, opening more hotels, and it's busier than ever before.
Well, it is, isn't it? Think about that. Over 150,000 rooms is what they say.
Mm.
818 hotels. Now, I don't know what class of hotels that spans, but if that's, I mean, it's not far off 1,000 hotels in a city
hmm
that has come up really in the last 50 years.
Well, they're saying 54,100 rooms in the 5-star category,
Right.
43,404 star. So, you're talking about around 100,000 hotel rooms in the 4-star and above category.
I, I mean, this is a report that coincides with FHS. And there's another figure here that I wanted to bring into this, Inzi. Dubai's tourism sector reaching another new high. Get this, and this is the reason why so many hotel rooms are needed, and
Mm.
going to be needed into the future as well. 12.54 million international visitors in the first 8 months of the year. So, peak season at the start of the year, a loosely kind of January to April, when the weather is at a peak for your kind of sun, sea, sand tourists. We're coming into peak season. Or we're in peak season now to the end of the year. What is that figure going to? Just echoed around the room there. What is that figure going to be by the end of the year? 12.54 million until the end of August.
Well, what they forecast is that by the end of the year, this is what Cavendish Maxwell have said, they think that we'll see around 19.5 million visitors by the end of the year.
And that's I know that the first 8 months that's up something like 5% on 2024.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's an increase on that 5% by the end of 2025 over 2024.
Yeah, well, I think that will be yeah, exactly. My maths isn't great, but I think so. 19.5 million visitors by the end of 2025, which will then mean a 78.5% occupancy expected in hotels, basically
Okay.
across Dubai.
Okay, so you can see why there are some more hotel rooms needed. You can kind of contributes towards the success of the other Emirates as well. You
Exactly.
mentioned Ras Al Khaimah just now.
And what they're saying is that, well, look, if you look at the airport itself, UAE airports across the year so far, they've handled 103 million passengers. That's a rise in 5%. DXB has recorded its busiest first half ever on record. That's obviously a huge influx. Um, and they're just basically seeing more people come in to the UAE, whether it's to live here or whether to visit here. And so they need good hotels to cater for that. And that's why we're seeing more and more hotels propping up and doing well as well, making a lot of money, considerable amounts of money.
And it's one of the reasons why we were at FHS yesterday, to try and understand the thinking and the reasoning and get some detail behind the figures to really understand what's going on. The anecdotal evidence is roads are really busy, lots of people are coming, the beaches are busy, hotels are busy. But when you get it put in, I guess those are kind of stark terms, aren't they, really? You really get a picture of what's going on.
And one important thing to note as well, what we noticed, particularly over the summer, I think you were away for a little bit, but I was pretty much here a lot of the summer,
Yep.
is that it feels like in the hospitality sector and particularly the hotel sector, there really isn't a seasonal kind of thing anymore. They were still busy over the maybe seasonal when it comes to pricing. Prices go up now when
Yeah.
there is event season and people come to town. There's big sporting events coming up, and yes, prices will go up, and the average daily rate will go up. However, over the summer, it was still very, very busy. Yes, the prices drop a bit, but there isn't that seasonal kind of element of numbers of people occupying hotel rooms anymore. Feels like Dubai is just a place for all year round.
It does. You're absolutely right. Well, let's hear from another of the attendees from FHS. You spoke to Zacky Sajjad, and Cavendish Maxwell are the people behind the report that we've just been talking to. Zacky is their Director of Business Development.
Okay, well, obviously, it's always a pleasure being at FHS. We come here every year. Cavendish Maxwell, so I would say the region's leading property consultants and chartered surveyors. So we do valuations, we do strategic consulting, we do project management, building surveying. They're our main service lines. And a lot of that is with a hospitality focus because of naturally what you see in the region in that asset class.
How exciting is the region currently, Zacky? Not just here in the UAE, where it seems the whole world has come to for FHS, but the region as a whole with, exciting opportunities happening in Saudi and in other parts of the GCC as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think obviously Dubai and the UAE has led the way, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, historically, but now obviously Saudi and the Kingdom is a really strategic part of what's happening in this segment of the industry. The World Cup, Expo, the event seasons that take place, you're seeing huge growth and even more potential in Saudi. And let's not forget Egypt, obviously, not in the GCC, but in the Middle East, a real big growth market. But if we look at Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, these are all positive signs in all the rest of the GCC as well.
Let's jump into some numbers and some of the research that you guys have specifically done around the hospitality sector. There was a recent report that you put out that the hospitality market is set to grow from $310 billion US dollars in 2025 to more than $487 billion by 2032. Just tell us how you got to that, why that is the case, and also why it's an incredible sector to be in right now.
Yeah, I think, look, there's multiple reasons for this, but if we just take, for starters, let's look at Dubai. You've got the world's busiest airport, passenger traffic increasing year on year. You've got regional airlines, such as Emirates Airlines, flying everywhere, practically in the world. Up the road, Abu Dhabi, you've got Etihad doing the same. Riyadh and Saudi with aspirations to do the same. Qatar Airways and Doha doing the same. So that drives a lot of people to the region anyway, coupled with all the various events that take place and the amount of choice that there now is regionally. And then you look at even sort of the smaller markets, which, maybe slightly smaller than, say, the UAE or Saudi, but they still have a lot of attraction to them, such as Oman and Bahrain. If you look at overnight visitors in Bahrain, for example, the numbers are staggering. So, you look on the supply side at the moment in Dubai alone, you have nearly 155,000 hotel rooms, 15,000 under construction approximately in Dubai right now. If you look at what's coming in the next 3 years, you're probably going to hit 180,000 hotel rooms in Dubai alone. And then, occupancy rates are over 80% currently, so with all these, and that is a trend that we're seeing across the region. Mm-hmm. So naturally, that's how you then, extrapolate these numbers that we've said, in the next sort of 5 to 10 years.
When you look at that figure, 180,000 hotel rooms in Dubai alone, when you guys kind of look at those numbers and evaluate those numbers, do you look at it from a positive perspective, or are you a bit skeptical about it? Is it sustainable, having so many hotel rooms and that growing as well in this growing city?
Yeah, look, I think I'm very positive about it. If you look at what's happening today, as I said, we've just had Q3 numbers out. Very, very positive for Q3. Again, getting close to sort of your 75, 80% occupancy rates. That's something that, there used to be a seasonality to this region. And Dubai is bucking that trend. If we look at what is on offer here now, and the number of, visitors that are coming to this region from everywhere. It's not just the UK or Europe or regionally. You've obviously got India, Pakistan, you've got, East Africa, you've got now even Central and South America visitors coming here. So I think, the reality is people want to go somewhere. If they're looking for a break, let's focus on the resorts, for example. Dubai's providing a lot of that, a lot of resorts. In fact, right now, probably one could argue not enough resorts because the demand is so high. So I think it's very positive. And then you look at also as a strategic regional hub. If we look at Dubai, what Dubai's done very well is it's positioned itself as a bit of a Jersey, a Monaco, a Liechtenstein, a BVI, a Cayman Islands for this region. And whereas those other markets have, 400 million within a 4-hour flight radius, Dubai has a third of the world's population within a 4-hour flight radius. So from a business perspective, and business hotels, it's become very strategic. And the rise of the IFC, ADGM, and all the setups of family offices, and as well as the institutional investors that are coming, this makes it quite attractive because it bridges that east meets west gap, if you like.
And when you look at specifically Dubai and the way that Dubai has operated over the last kind of 15 years and just constantly growing with, FDI into a place like Dubai and the wider UAE, are we still seeing that, or are we seeing kind of big organizations, international companies saying, actually, you know what, we want to look elsewhere, we do want to look at Saudi, we're kind of overlooking Dubai now? Or is it kind of looking at the region as a whole? What are you noticing?
Yeah, look, I think it's a real mixed bag. I think, look, the attraction of Dubai is and the wider UAE, it's not just Dubai, even Abu Dhabi, Ras Al Khaimah, and looking at some of the other Emirates as well, who are sort of benefiting from all this investment.
The attraction's still very much there.
Exactly, it's very, very much there. And then you look at now, obviously Saudi is a huge opportunity. It's a massive market. I mean, Saudi Arabia is the 13th largest country on landmass in the world. People don't realize just how big it is. And with a population of 30 million, a lot of what's been developed so far, the take-up has been from Saudis themselves. Let alone the international. And then you forget, obviously, the religious tourism, which, let's not forget that, which drives a huge number of visitors to the kingdom on an annual basis.
And new announcements there recently as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, and then you look at what's on offer, even from the sort of event season. We're coming up to the Gulf Swing, all these golf tournaments that are happening around the region, which again drives tourism, drives interest. We've got the F1, coming to multiple destinations within the Gulf. All this stuff helps to really kind of keep that positivity. And if you look at, bring it back to Dubai and the 2040 Urban Master Plan, Dubai is now on its kind of 5th urban centre in the Dubai South area, and the expansion, the new hotel, the new airport, I should say, and what's happening all around that. It's really exciting times ahead.
I want to talk a bit about another strand of what Cavendish Maxwell does, and that's looking at people coming into the UAE, and particularly the kind of pull factors that the UAE offers, and maybe some of the push factors a place like the UK offers as well. We've seen previously that you've spoken heavily about millionaires leaving the UK and arriving in the UAE. What's the trend that we're seeing there? How much of that is actually happening?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really interesting. So brand residences are growing here more so than anywhere else in the world. And that very much links in with the data. So if you look at ultra high net worths and high net worths that are relocated here post-COVID, the numbers are staggering. So that segment of the market is growing astronomically. If we're talking in the last 4 or 5 years, and sometimes 50% growth, in that brand residences segment, So there's a huge attraction. If you look at it from their perspective, it's a tax haven. It's a safe place to live. You've got an abundance of choice from education, hospitality, from every element of society and what you might need. So I think it's a natural course that these kind of individuals and these kind of families want to base themselves here, given certain macroeconomic and geopolitical things that are happening around the world.
But is there truly that mass exodus happening? Because there was some questioning around the report that Cavendish Maxwell had produced recently about, the sheer number of millionaires leaving the UK and coming into a place like the UAE. How did you get around actually seeing that? And is it actually happening? Are we actually seeing the numbers do that?
Absolutely. I mean, if I look at my day-to-day, in my role and what I'm doing, I'm having multiple meetings with these sorts of individuals. In fact, there was a family here last week from the UK who I know from my background, ultra high net worth. All the stakeholders from that family were here last week. They'd never been to the UAE before, and they're here with a view to relocating here as well. And so, often they come to us for a bit of an initial conversation around, okay, first of all, how do we get the family here, and then how do we get set up with some element of our businesses? And obviously, we don't do business setup, but we look after the real estate aspect within that. So, these guys are into manufacturing, and the Make It in the Emirates initiative is something that they're closely watching. So we are definitely seeing an increase in this, and it's not just us that's reporting this. There's multiple people that are sort of reporting about these types of individuals coming to the UAE and Dubai in particular. And I think also, if we look at what's happening around the region, the geopolitics, as well as conflicts elsewhere, that's also driving people to the UAE.
I just want to finally end on kind of the region as a whole and the way that you guys look at this region, and particularly when you compare it to other parts of the world, Europe, the Americas, the Far East as well. It feels like there's a real buzz in the Gulf, which is attracting a lot of people, which is attracting not just kind of individuals, but organizations, companies, international organizations, a lot of FDI as well. What is it about this region which is just attracting so many people and this buzz that seems to be created here in the GCC?
So I came here as a child with my parents in the early 80s, and my kids are born here now. So that's the third generation here. And we used to say, my parents used to say, people come to Dubai for 2 years, 5 years, or life. And I feel that post-COVID, the secret is out there. Everybody knows about Dubai, the UAE now, and this region. And if you look at, even touching on some of the geopolitics recently, some of these peace negotiations that are taking place, they're being held in this region. Historically, this would never have happened before. So I think this is, going back to this sort of bridge between East and West, the Gulf and the Gulf Cooperation Council of the GCC nations. They've positioned themselves in a really good way to sort of benefit from multiple things. But it all started with a lot of investment into hospitality, into travel and tourism. And from there, people would come here, come on holiday, see they like it, and then they would want to stay. And that's how it all started.
Zacky, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Inzamam.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.